Hi, good morning. Good morning. It's July 8th, 2022, and I want to take a second look at something Ms. Carlock talked about in her short, and that is item number 13, keeping in mind that the defendants in this case are the Summer Wells Reward Fund donors and interested parties, Fiona O'Connor, Hugh Carlock, and the Children's Advocacy Fund, which I have not named previously. Nowhere in here is Civis Bank, now Thread Bank, named as a defendant. So back to point 13, which is where Kiana started yesterday when I posted excerpts of her response to us, where she stood, and as a result, where we stand. Number 13, that Civis Bank, now Thread Bank, did not retain a record of those who made in-person cash deposits in the disputed funds account, nor did Civis Bank, now Thread Bank, retain a record of the addresses of those who mailed in or made in-person deposits by check into the disputed funds account. And then it goes on to say some were identified, those checks, some were identified by city or state, and it would be difficult to reconstruct that record. That is true, and my experiences as a fundraiser on behalf of national companies, nonprofits, has been, since I was a child, that if I was collecting for UNICEF, for example, when I was a little girl, the day before Halloween or the day after, I can't remember, it seems like it was before, we would go door to door and collect dimes for UNICEF, 10 cents. Many people gave $1, $5, a few gave 10 back then, but as a minor and as a collector, I had no obligation to keep a record of who put dimes into my little cardboard box. That was not considered a significant amount of money individually, and we had no requirement to keep a running list. Also, as a child, I was a campfire girl, and I sold candy every spring. Unfortunately, we were competing with Girl Scout cookies, and it was always a challenge to make our quota. The only reason we had a quota is so that we could qualify for a reward trip. Nevertheless, we did keep a record of who the person was who bought candy from us, how much, and how much they paid, and that record, while it was turned into our troop leader, was solely for the purpose of knowing where to deliver the boxes of candy when the orders were received. No requirement to report it to any government agency. As a teenager, I took pledges for how many miles I would walk for the very first Earth Day. It wasn't called Earth Day on that occasion, I don't think, but you collected X amount of money per mile, whatever the donor was willing to pledge to support you. We did keep a running sheet, but it was only to know how to bill the donor. So if somebody pledged 10 cents a mile and I walked 12 miles, then the donor was required to cough up $1.20. As an adult, I was in charge of one fundraiser where we collected money for a neighborhood organization, and 90% of that money was in the form, well, probably higher than that, probably 98% of the money was in the form of either a cash donation or a food purchase. So you went to this event we put on, and there was food and beverage available for X amount of money. Every penny of the money collected versus how much product we sold was itemized. We did not itemize the cash donations. None of them. We might have had 1 or 2 donations by check from people who were not going to attend but wanted to support the neighborhood association, and those would have been itemized. But we were not required by our charter to do that, as long as our accounts showed what we took in, what our expenses were, and how the remainder was to be used within the neighborhood association, both by state law and by federal law. And even still to this day, decades after my experiences as a young person and my experience in adulthood, if you walk into 7-Eleven and there is a March of Dimes canister next to the register and you drop in $1 or $2 or $5 or $50, the store is not required to document that you did that. So too with, say, a fireman's fund canister, not required. The business is not required to document that you dropped in $1,000. No obligation whatsoever. Nor is the business required to keep a record of that, the contents of that canister. It is the responsibility of the charitable organization or charitable effort to sign off that they collected X amount of money in cash on your counter, and that frees the business from liability. Cash donations are considered anonymous donations because they're not traceable. And nobody, as far as I know, is required to track cash donations of any amount. Usually what people do is, if they want their donation to be recorded, they write a check or a money order. And used to be you could write a money order. Now it's more of a hassle than anything else. Regardless, write a check, send a money order, or run the debit card or credit card. That's the way that people who want their donations tracked handle donation finances. People who don't care to have their donation tracked or don't care about tax write-offs often will toss cash. Cash App and Super Chats function exactly the same way, except those can be tracked electronically. PayPal, to a certain extent, is used exactly the same way on YouTube to send a creator some cash, and it can be tracked, but PayPal is a much larger corporation and serves a variety of functions besides cash donation. It's my opinion that the reason Churchill Rescue Squad Incorporated included that paragraph was simply to document the fact that Civis Bank, now Fred Bank, did indeed take cash donations without requirements or stipulations. You walk in, you fill out a deposit ticket, you indicate that it's going for the Summer Wells Reward Fund, and you hand the teller $50. The teller has no obligation to write down your name, address, telephone number, next of kin, none of that. It's a cash donation. And with that, I thank you for your patience while I beat a horse to death, so to speak. Thanks for stopping by. God bless you, and I'll see you real soon.